This episode of Obscure Chatter is brought to you by Cooler Than You AC. Are you sweaty? Are you miserable? Is everything just pissing you the fuck off? That's totally understandable. Why not just be miserable and pissed off while staying cool? Cooler Than You. It doesn't have to make sense. The world sure doesn't. And now, on to the episode. Welcome to another episode of Obscure Chatter. I am your host, Terri Doty. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if it isn't, welcome back. Say welcome back. I'm a little hoarse. I've had auditions before this. Really weird ones. Not for anime, so you don't have to be curious about what the fuck's she talking about? It's been a weird day. Voicing stuff that I never thought I would. And then, just the episode hasn't even started yet, really. And it's you know what? But yes, I'm in the booth once again. I'm really going to do everything I can to avoid being in the living room. It's just, it's an expensive booth. Why not fucking use it? Even if it's insanely hot already. Right before stepping in, my AC went out. My AC's been going out, but a new AC is expensive. So I've got my water and a debilitating need to prove myself. So the sponsor was not the original sponsor. Cooler Than You was a last-minute adjustment that stemmed from frustration with my HVAC system. It's circling the drain. It's not officially dead. It's just, again, shit's expensive. So let's see how this goes. And I really do hope that this doesn't have to be used as evidence to prove Steven didn't, intentionally lock me in here to seal my doom. Let's cover our bases here just in case. If anyone needs to hear this, I am in here of my own free will. But if Steven starts dating within a year of my passing, I don't know, keep an eye on him. What a note to start the show on, I know. I'm floopy. I'm officially a little floopy all the time, but I'm done flooped out the wazoo in not a fun way. It's just been harder to turn that grimace into a smirk, And I know I'm not alone there. It's hard right now. And there's just been progressively less and less good. Texas is especially testing me today, but yeah, if you know, you know. I'm not going to do that. Someone on Threads said they're microdosing hell. And, just to name a few things, I was stuck in FIFA traffic for over 3 hours on what should have been a 10-minute drive. We lost Anthony Stewart Head this month. And, the state of the world is becoming less and less stable as we go on. So yeah, microdosing hell feels pretty fucking accurate. I just want to relax. I've talked about this before, but my shoulders, I don't know. Still haven't found a massage therapist, but I need one day where my shoulders you can't hear it. Okay, maybe you can't hear it. This is me letting my shoulders decompress. Yeah. All right. Okay, 5 things. Just list 5 things that actually bring you joy right now, you weirdo. So, number 1, Keith David got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Number 2, a Terri Doty that isn't me almost got scammed, but the scammer messaged me instead of that Terri Doty that's obsessed with the lead actor of Outlander. That was pretty funny. Numero 3, I found an Evangelion McDonald's collab at Horror Freak. 4, my office TV setup is really coming together. So there's that. 5, I'm not completely dog shit at chess anymore. So, yeah. There you go. 5 things. That's better. That's better. Oh. As with previous episodes, I'll try to keep things light. I want us to have fun, so I promise I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best right now with the tools at my disposal. So, yeah, having fun. I guess that means we should talk about media for June. You know, what's been read, what's been watched, what's been listened to. Let's get into it. Reading was hit or miss for me this month. I did not finish a lot of things. Some DNFs were attempts at revisits because I hyped them up so much last month. And some just didn't work out. Oh, right, there is a reason I didn't read these. Others were continuations of stories that I liked, but book 2s or 3s or 4s are book 1's fine. And or just one-offs that just didn't connect. And I hate to admit this, but there are just other books that I'm this is AI. This is definitely AI. I'm looking through reviews being okay, I just need one person to be this is AI. And anytime I've suspected it is, it is. Fuck that. Not cool. Not cool. Not fucking cool. We have enough going on. Can I just, if I read something crap, let it be written by a human brain, please. Thank you. I was raised to believe that shit writing could come from a person. But that's just me. It's just the way I was raised. But enough about what didn't connect. Let's talk about what did. I don't know what pushed me to give the Hannibal Lecter books by Thomas Harris another shot. I own a couple digitally. I don't think physically. I'd collect them now. At least one copy, maybe not multiple editions, but I've skimmed them before. Let's say that. I've read through them entirely, but they didn't really connect before. But mystery thrillers are a mixed bag sometimes for me. They're just not my go-to. I have a friend that's obsessed with them. All her recommendations are always those. She even messaged me yesterday to tell me that we are reading this book next. I won't say the book, but I know nothing about the book. I just know in my bones that it is a mystery thriller with at least 3 questionably hot people. Not that I'm complaining about reading books with friends and discussing them afterward. I mean, that's the dream. But like I've said in the past, I'm a big fan of giving books a revisit or redemption read, whatever you want to call it. So I just finished the 2 books in the Hannibal Lecter series. I'm giving myself a breather before jumping into the 3rd book, which is Hannibal. Not sure if I want to give the 4th one a go at all, which is Hannibal Rising. We'll see. But I'm glad I revisit Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs. Or The Silence of the Lambs. I always drop the thes in titles. I'd read them before, like I said, but I just kind of read them to say I indeed had read them, But I'd seen the 1986 film Manhunter, which was based on Red Dragon. And I know the author wasn't fond of that, which is why for the longest time he didn't see Silence of the Lambs, the Jonathan Demme Silence of the Lambs. It's because he's no, I've been hurt before, whatever. But there are some great performances in Manhunter. Some great, you'll see a lot of actors early on in their career. They're pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But I'm also an Edward Norton actor, as an actor fan. I don't know much about him as a person. So I'm always I don't know. Parasocial relationships are dangerous, so be careful. So 2002's Red Dragon was an easy win for me because Edward Norton's a great actor. And I'm a bigger fan of Brian Fuller. Dead Like Me, Pushing Daisies, Wonderfalls. Is it Wonderfalls or Wonderwalls? No, it's Wonderfalls. I'm almost entirely sure. So his 2013-2015 Hannibal series is very coveted in this house. I'm actually curious about revisiting these now that I've really read Red Dragon. So if you're completely unfamiliar with the books, or Red Dragon specifically, this is the introduction to Hannibal Lecter, a.k.a. Hannibal the Cannibal, a.k.a. Dr. Sheffo Flesh. No one but me refers to him as that. That's au moi. You're welcome. But Will Graham and Lecter of history. Will is the guy who caught Hannibal, and he almost died doing it. So now there's a new madman people are calling the Tooth Fairy, but later they refer to him as the Red Dragon. And so to find him, the FBI brings Will back into the fold because Will understands the Red Dragon's mindset. But so does Dr. Lecter. Dum, dum, dum. Floopy already. Yes, we are. I like how we meet Hannibal Lecter in Red Dragon. I'm so torn on how I would feel about him if I hadn't known nothing about the character, like hadn't seen any interpretation before going into the book. Unfortunately, I just can't. Like, there's too much out there that's Hannibal coded. Or like a parody or whatever. So even if I'd never seen the portrayal, it's just referenced across so many different medias. It's hard to not know, like, oh, Hannibal Lecter, whatever you want. But Will Graham is a very interesting character himself. I like this idea of someone with all the traits of quote unquote monster that's aware of their traits and fights against them, so much so that they do what they use what they know about their own psyche to catch people that don't, police the monster within. So the Dollarhide fairy, Tooth Fairy, Red Dragon story itself does play second fiddle to Will and Hannibal, but that's not by accident. So I really do like this book. I don't know how I just went through the motions on that first read. But then right after that, I jumped into book 2, a.k.a. The Silence of the Lambs. For the longest time, I had a bit of a love-hate relationship with 1991's film, just because it felt like it was shoved down my throat, particularly as a film student. Like, what Jonathan Demme did with the source material was phenomenal. Everyone involved did amazing work. Honestly, looking back, ragging on the film was just one of those counterculture moments that I'm so fond of, where something being popular just made me like, bleh. It just made me feel a whole type of way. I have a lot of those moments that just make me cringe, but if you're not cringing at your past self, you're not growing. And you can quote me on that. A friend of mine was like, shit, put that on a shirt. I'm like, you put it on a shirt. I don't want to do that. I'll take the money and sue you if you come up with it. Like, have this be like, I think I've mentioned it before. Reference this when lawsuits come about because friends have made shirts that I told them to make. I don't know. Anyways, Silence of the Lambs, there's a serial killer stalking my fellow Rubenesque women. Buffalo Bill is building a body count across several states. And at the same time, all this is going on, an FBI trainee, Clarice Starling, you can't say her, Clarice. Clarice is pulled from classes to interview Dr. Hannibal Lecter, who is now in a state hospital for the criminally insane. Lecter is going to help Clarice track and capture Buffalo Bill. Or is he? The book does a great job with Clarice Starling. It's a totally different rapport that she has with Hannibal compared to Will. There's a different dance happening. Again, the serial killer plays backdrop to these, the two main characters, which isn't easy because Buffalo Bill's pretty fucked up on his own. A lot of people aren't quick to label these books or films as horror, but they are. We just have a tendency to label them as thrillers or mysteries when award season comes around. But I like to think that's changing with Weapons and Sinners winning all the awards. So I liked The Silence of the Lambs more than Red Dragon, but it's really not a competition. They're just different flavors. I know Hannibal, the third installment, is not everyone's cup of tea. I don't think I've ever read it. And I think that's one of the reasons it it takes a departure, and I think that's one of the big reasons Jodie Foster didn't return, is she didn't agree with where the author of the script took the character of Clarice Starling, which there's a lot to unpack there, but blah, blah, blah. But Julianne Moore did a good job stepping into that character, and she did find a way to seamlessly kind of build that history with Anthony Hopkins' portrayal of Hannibal Lecter, despite not, being in the original Clarice role with Anthony. It's hard to see a recast when there's supposed to be history, so it's tricky business. There's another movie with that problem that doesn't land it the same way Julianne does, and I think about it often, honestly. It's Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Tuesday Knight actually took over the role of Kristen from Patricia Arquette, who was Kristen in Dream Warriors Part 3. And the actors playing Joey and Kincaid returned from 4. But their scenes with Kristen just didn't connect the same way. The same way they would have if Patricia had returned. And that's not Tuesday Knight's fault. She still rocked it. It was just, it didn't bother me unless she was doing a scene with, the characters of Kincaid or Joey. I forget their actors' names. But again, Julianne Moore rocked Clarice Starling. It's just a different vibe. So I've seen the movie. I will give the book a shot down the line, despite there being such a departure. I don't know. It's kind of interesting for that to be one of the reasons that a lot of people didn't like this is when we meet Clarice, she's young, she's an academy trainee. And when we see her again, I don't know how it's handled in the book, but it seems like she's just really well versed by then. We met a version of Clarice. People change. But, I could be putting my foot in my mouth. I don't know I don't remember the movie that much. I remember a couple of scenes pretty insane that are referenced in Scary Movie 2 or whatever, and some other things. But, and also a couple things that are pulled from Hannibal, I'm guessing, that end up in the Hannibal show. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel after I've read it. Could be foot and mouth disease right now. So we'll see. There's a hardback that's been on my shelf for a few years that I finally decided to give a proper chance. It's one of the more universally hated books by this author. Little pocket universes like it. I don't know, okay, if you're curious, it's Tommyknockers. The Tommyknockers by Stephen King. I talked about Christine last month, and I decided to go through more Stephen King, because of it. I'm not sure if Tommyknockers was the right call, but here we are. It came out in 1987, 3 years after yours truly was born. So next year it'll celebrate 40 years. Wow. It's still considered horror, but it's definitely sci-fi as well. They go hand in hand often. This is about a town in Maine called Haven. It follows the residents as they gradually start losing themselves and their teeth to a mysterious force. Aliens. It's aliens. To be fair, so is Pennywise, which people often forget. But no, there's no Pennywise here. No floating turtle, at least that I could see in the sky. So, or in, circling the earth. But maybe that's the whole thing. I'm not supposed to see them. Anyways, yeah, the Tommyknockers are a different kind of shit-stirring aliens. Tommyknockers is one of those times where the author themselves is like, yeah, I know it's bad. So I can't gush about this one the way I do about The Shining or Carrie. It wasn't great, but at the same time, I couldn't put it down. There's a lot of potential. Like, there were flat out things that I thought were cool because they were sinister or creepy or like techie or like, oh, that's just clever. But I mean, I could have gone my entire life without reading any of the euphemisms King used when describing someone on their period. Like, for the record, if any menstruating person ever referred to their Shark Week as the dribbles, I would not speak to that person ever again. Ever. No, thank you. Oh, God, what was another one? He's like, the Cardinals, like, flown the nest or something. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Mr. King? The book is all over the place. It's, it's like this show. Sometimes you just have to stop and ask, wait, how the fuck did we get here? I know what I'm about. I know what I'm about. So I tried throughout my read to talk to Stephen about it. My husband, not the author. For clarification, I wasn't like, hey, Stephen, Terry again. Like, Mr. King. No. But, my dude's go-to response was, okay. So, if I'm honest, this would have been a fun book to go over with my dad. I know he had a copy on his shelf for a long time. He had a lot of Stephen King on his shelf. He's the reason I love horror and sci-fi, as I've mentioned and brought up before. So I sat through a lot of made-for-TV movies with that man, and Tommyknockers was one of them. The one that I remember, like, kind of being like, oh my God, this is so boring, was The Stand. But watching it again, I'm like, wow. Watching the 90s Stand, especially compared to the newer Stand miniseries, I'm like, wow, it's actually better than I remember. But the Tommyknockers, I don't remember that much of the movie, made-for-TV movie. I have it on VHS. Tracy Lords is in it, which, as I've mentioned before, Tracy Lords is amazing. And I think that's the first thing I saw Jimmy Smits in. Maybe I'm right, but I always thought he was handsome. So there you go. It all started with Tommyknockers. Thank you, Stephen King. So yeah, maybe I'll make my dude sit through a watching of the Tommyknockers, and where I can pause it every 2 seconds and be like, in the book they did something even fucking weirder. Or I could just not torture my partner. At least not that in that particular way. I know I usually talk about the winners of my reading journey, but this one is a pretty vocal participation trophy. So if you've read Tommyknockers, you know why. If you haven't, and you want to give it a shot with this glowing recommendation, prepare for the unprepared. It's weirder than you're expecting. And, honestly, I'd say more of the unbelievable parts is just how much someone can drink. Please don't refer to menstruation as the dribbles. Please don't do it. So complete opposite of the Tommyknockers, more birding stuff. I had this moment before a session last week where I got there early on purpose with the intention of watching them birds. I had my notepad, I had my binoculars ready, and I posted about this because I realized sitting in your car with a pair of binoculars can really freak somebody out that doesn't know what you're doing out there. So at one point I looked to my right, and the woman parked next to me was just staring like horrified. I haven't gone back to that studio yet, but we'll see if security maybe made a note about my car and wants to talk to me. We'll see. So I bring all that up because I read North American Birdwatching for Beginners by Sharon Stitler. Sharon S. Yeah. Good old Sharon S. It's a book to check out if you, like myself, are a beginning birder or birderer. I know, I keep trying to make birderer happen. It will happen. It has to. Make birderer happen, people. But yeah, no, this is a great starting field guide. It goes over the basics, like the terminology, the equipment that you might need, and the equipment that you don't need, especially if you're just starting out, how to log your sightings, all that fun stuff. It's also got photos and details of about 150 species. And it's already helped me identify a few other birds that are always in my backyard, like the mourning dove or this one specific, oh God, I forget, this one specific kind of woodpecker that's been hanging out. As well as, it reconfirmed that I did properly identify these Mississippi kites that are in my backyard. So, which is a type of hawk, in case you were wondering. But yeah. I love them. I love seeing them, and I love there's a lot of great information in this book. So all of that to say, hey, the bird watching's here to stay. I even downloaded Merlin ID and the Audubon app to help me in my birding journey. If you're curious, they are free. They're free. So, if you're interested, go bananas. When it comes to music, Typo Negative is a pretty regular listen for me. If you are a frequent listener of Obscure Chatter, this is not news to you. I decided to make a day out of listening to more or less their entire album, or their entire catalog on Father's Day. As some of you might recall, my dad and I bonded over Typo Negative. It was a fun listening experience. Wolf Moon is probably the biggest repeat right now. It's just so goddamn good. And I just found a Typo Negative shirt for $8 on eBay. So things are looking up for me, is what I'm saying. Also, I've been revisiting a lot of Sneaker Pimps, especially their Becoming X album. Kelly's vocals on Six Underground alone, they're so good. But I'm also a big fan of the vocals on stuff. I think it's Chris that does the vocals after that first album. I forget what happened with Kelly. Like they left or they kicked her out. I really forget the situation, but Sneaker Pimps, really good. I'd say as far as Chris's vocals, Lightning Field's probably my favorite track. I'm pretty sure that's Chris. Whatever. And then there's also the Sisters of Mercy. I know, Sisters of Mercy and Typo Negative. I don't think I'm depressed, but maybe I'm fooling myself here. But yeah, you can't go wrong with Sisters of Mercy. I randomly found one of their albums in the wild recently, and I realized that I'd kind of forgotten about them, which is sacrilegious, honestly. I'm remedying that now. Don't worry. I promise. It's not fuck awful yet, but it's getting there. Nah. I have you guys, so you guys are helping me get through this. But I revisit a lot of flicks this month. Nothing really new to me jumped out. It's like, oh, I have to watch this right fucking now. But I will say, tonight, I plan on watching the newer Naked Gun. I'm really excited about it. So maybe we'll talk about it next month. I rewatched Barbie for the first time since I saw it in theaters. Still great. Rewatched Army of Darkness, Dolls, in my office, which is, again, so freaking cool because I love watching flicks while I'm working. There's just something about the sound. That's kind of how the show initially started, for crying out loud. And rewatched The Menu last night. God, I don't know why it took me so long to be like, is this horror? This is horror, right? It is. It definitely is. But, oh God, since I watched it last night, I'm like, fuck, now I want a cheeseburger. But if you had to twist my arm on other flicks, I guess In Search of Darkness counts. I don't know why I think it doesn't. I hadn't watched the first half of the 90s stuff, so I finally got to that. I mentioned them last time, but AMC only had the back half of the 90s available. So a day or so after the start of this month, the 1990 to 94 finally got put up. It's great. So In Search of Darkness initially started out as a documentary that explored films from the 80s. And they did so well, and they were so popular that they did 2 follow-ups to the 80s. There were just that many 80s films. I wouldn't be shocked if they did more 90s stuff, but right now they have 2 90s films that break them up into the 90 to 94 to 94 to 99, like I previously mentioned. So, and right now they're working on one for the 70s. which I'm really excited about. Like one of my favorite 1970s films is Deep Red. But then like realizing like Steven still hasn't seen The Exorcist. Isn't that wild? And then you, of course, you think about like Halloween, da 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 da. And that's not even really thinking about the more obscure ones that probably I haven't even heard of. So I can't wait to watch this. And I've gotten into a lot of stuff that just kind of slipped under the radar because of the In Search of Darkness films. So they're also just great to have on just throughout the day. Like Stephen pointed out, like they kind of remind him, and I'm like, oh God, you're right. They remind him of those videos that would play at the video stores that would show you like trailers and little things that would get you, like they'd show you a trailer and be like, available now. So yeah, they are very much like that, but also just being like, I've never heard of this. Can you tell me something? Sometimes they'll spoil a movie for you, but sometimes they won't. So it's just fun to have those all on. And I'm glad I got to finish their little 90s block. But I wouldn't be shocked, again, if they didn't do more 90s. There's a lot of stuff that they skipped because, you don't want your documentaries to be like 24 hours apiece. I mean, I don't. It should just be a series at that point. Maybe. Television. Television has been fun and interesting this last month. I finished up Silicon Valley, which I'm both happy and sad about. Like, the episodes are pretty quick, so I didn't even realize I was nearing the end until like the day before. Stephen and I keep quoting it. Like, Kumail Nanjiani is in another show, and we keep quoting him from Silicon Valley in a show where he's not playing Dinesh at all. It's pretty funny. Everyone's great. Well, most everyone in that show is great. If you know, you know. So I've said it before, but yeah, Zach Woods is a favorite. He's a favorite in anything he's in, even when he's playing someone that's garbage. Although Jared, the character that he plays, Jared, or Donald, aka Jared, is a treasure. Leave him alone. But since I mentioned Kumail, I'm talking about season 2 of Fallout. He's in 2 episodes of that. I just started season 2. And I've been ready for season 2 for a while. The first season was such a surprise to me. I really thought that I'd have to be into Fallout to like this show. And I think I've talked about it on this show before. But no, it's damn good. And it seems, don't quote me on this, it seems like it incorporates everything that happens in the games and takes nothing away from what's happening in the games. So, that's not an easy thing to do if I'm right. And if I'm wrong, shut up. Let me be wrong. But what's been haunting me a little bit is the start of the second episode. It broke me. The performances for these characters that we only get like a few minutes with, like, wow. They're otherworldly. Like, I had to pause because I was getting so choked up. And Walton Goggins is still phenomenal. I think I've talked about my love for Kyle MacLachlan before. Maybe I haven't. No, I definitely have. That would be insane. He's a great good guy, but I've missed him being a complete piece of shit. So, Fallout is great for a whole bunch of reasons. Oh, I didn't know that a regular show had returned. It's regular show, The Lost Tapes. Pops is my favorite in that entire show. I had no idea what to expect when I started this show that is like releasing new episodes right now. Right now as I'm talking. So when I heard Pops, I was just so happy. I had no idea how much I missed this show. As a voice actor, it's easy to point out that people sound more or less the same, but time has definitely passed. It doesn't bother me. I just noticed it. Like if you put them like if you watch the entire original run into that, you'd be like, they sound a little off. And the mixing's a little odd. I keep having to turn it up, turn it down. But that's maybe just grandma needing her hearing aids. Who knows? I don't call me grandma. You can call me Gamma or Terry or Nana. There you go. Nana needs her hearing aids. I don't know. Again, yeah, like it gets in my head when I return to stuff, and how long it's been, since I've recorded a character. Like I might have mentioned it before, but when I returned for Fairy Tale, since the show had initially ended, I'd had COVID. And for a moment there, I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm done voice acting and maybe breathing correctly for the rest of my life. Good times. But it was fine. And immediately getting into like little Virgo stuff. So, like, time has passed between the regular show and the Lost Tapes, but I'm just happy everyone's back. I think everyone from the original show returned. But if I'm going to talk about TV, and I've talked about getting ready for this show. If you, on this show and on my socials, you already know I've been watching The Vampire Lestat. The title seems to confuse some people. It's a continuation of AMC's Interview with a Vampire. The Vampire Lestat is technically a season 3. I would not recommend anyone just jump into The Vampire Lestat. The main reason for the title change, I think, is recognizing that we're no longer in Louis's perspective, the main POV anyway. It's Lestat, my unhinged brat prince. So, The Vampire Lestat is my favorite book in the entire Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. I collect different editions as often as I can. If you see one in the wild, especially if it's in another language, tell me. I want it. Give me it. Give me it. I'll pay you some money. Like, man, I'm setting myself up for failure right there. But this season, The Vampire Lestat seems to be difficult for some viewers. Like, I know a lot of people miss Louis, which is a wild thing to hear if you've read the books. I don't know a lot of people that are ride or die for Louis de Pointe de Lac the way they are for his series counterpart. Jacob Anderson is a powerhouse, though, so that really shouldn't shock me as much as it does. Sam Reed was born to play Lestat. He's so good. It's hard to play someone that's a liar, that everyone knows they're lying and that they're too messy. And he lies to himself as much as he lies to everybody else. And like Louis, he is a very unreliable narrator. The most unreliable, if you're going to be real. I think maybe the constant not being able to, know what's real and what isn't is the unreliable narrator part of it. Like, I feel like it's also moving faster than some people would like. Most of those people are book readers. I've noticed. It's a short season. They're not going to be able to cover everything. It's hit or miss on some of the changes they've made for me. Like, even in the original show, like, I didn't, or the original, like, Interview with a Vampire thing, like, I struggled a little bit with the changes to, like, Madeline and, or yeah, just a couple of things. I forget. I love what they did with Louis. I absolutely fucking love what they did. But that's the changes hit or miss, love them or not. They were that way from the beginning. Some of the stuff, yeah, like I said, like confuses me, but I just don't tell Steven about any of those, or I try not to until he's watched the episode. And then I'm like, what'd you think? Did anything confuse you? Blah, at the hair. But he knows enough to be like, when the fuck is Marius showing up? I'm like, I can't believe you're excited about Marius. That's shocking. But he loves the show. Lestat isn't perfect, but he's never been perfect. He's not supposed to be. None of these characters are. And this season especially seems to really have divided the fan base. I understand why. Some of it, though, does stem from, how do I say this politely? a complete lack of media literacy. I think we're used to having things in one perspective with, that reliable narrator, that perspective that's the absolute truth as a viewer until told otherwise by another overall narrative. It's just, if that makes sense, it's just not the way the show is, or the books, honestly. There are numerous shows, books, movies, etc., where I love a book, but I hate things that have happened in it. Like, I'm upset for the rest of the day these things happened. Things that often just, they make you uncomfortable, where you forget sometimes the discomfort you're feeling is the point. Nothing or not everything is going to be catered to your comfort. I don't know if I'm selling this or dissuading you from watching it, but just take from that what you will. Watch it, don't watch it. The Vampire Lestat is halfway through the season. About halfway. I forget if it's 7 or 8 episodes. I'm on episode 3 right now. Or episode 4 will be out tomorrow, which will be the day that this episode is released. It's been a wild ride. I'm ready for more. And not ready. Who knows? That's media. That is media. It's taking up more and more of the show, but I actually think that's great. Because I just love talking about shit. If you've checked out anything I've mentioned in any episode and enjoyed it, please reach out to me and let me know what you think. Unless you hated it. Again, I don't care if you hated it. Just leave me alone. But if there's anything you've read, watched, or listened to that you think I should check out, send me a message. obscurechatter@gmail.com. Do it. I love hearing from y'all. Again, unless you want to be all, or if you're messaging me to be like, you're leaving money on the table with your show. Have you thought about, leave me alone. Leave me alone. So I mentioned this on Blue Sky before I started recording this. So, before I forget, I got to tell you about something that happened about an hour after we finished recording last month's episode. I considered adding it to the tail end of last month's show because it was just so unbelievably bizarre. I'm like, oh my God, why couldn't this have happened before we recorded? Who knows? But Stephen wanted to get Chit started a little after we finished recording episode 72. Chit is the name of our robot lawnmower. Sometimes, especially in the front, Stephen watches Chit because he has a tendency to fall off the curb. I'm fully aware that I'm referring to my robot lawnmower as he. Moving on. We rarely have cops on our street. So Stephen clocked one that as they whizzed by. And right after the cop whizzes by, Stephen heard some rustling. And when he turned, he saw some scrawny rando hop over our fence. And Stephen initially was like, why is our neighbor jumping the fence? And then he was like, wait, that's not our neighbor. And they're coming from my backyard. So the guy, let's call him Spencer. Spencer looked at Stephen and shouted, help me. And Stephen scoffed and said, nah, bro, I'm good. I got to see a chunk of this through our cameras. I was actually inside for this entire exchange and event, just cooling off. I'm usually pretty useless for the rest of the day after I've recorded. Spencer looked filthy, and he was clearly on something. So Spencer then ran past Stephen and across our front yard, and he tried and failed to open another neighbor's fence. Then he jumped over the locked fence and into our neighbor's backyard. And another cop drove by, and Stephen pointed to where Spencer was running, and the cop hauled ass. Stephen then called 911 and pointed in the direction Spencer went when another cop arrived. They hauled ass too. Spencer reappeared for a second down the street, and he hopped on top of a couple cars trying to get on the roof of a house down the street and then tried to climb a tree. Not very smart, Spencer. But when that didn't work, he ran into another backyard, and that's when cops got out drawing their firearms. After a lot of shouting, 911 told Steven, because he was still online with him, like, they got him. We got Spencer. And 5 other cops arrived shortly after that. I'm missing all of this. Like, this is all secondhand from Steven. But when the situation de-escalated, I did get to see this on the Ring camera. One of the cops drove up to Steven because he was just staying in the driveway watching all of this. And you very much hear them cackling at each other when Steven told him that Spencer said, Spencer asked him for help. And the cop's like, wow. And according to that cop, Spencer had been giving them the slip for an hour. I didn't hear anything. But Steven, again, was nice enough to recount it a couple of times for the purpose of me telling you guys. So, thank you, Steven. I missed all of this, and I could only see so much from the footage. So I don't know what I would have done if it had been me there instead of Steven, which is a little scary, but the dude was running. I can't say to what would have happened, but Spencer might have gotten like a robot lawnmower to his face. Who knows? Actually, shit's really heavy, and I'm so weak, so who knows? I in no way am sure what Spencer was up to, but I was more concerned after the story that if my fence was okay. So apparently, Steven and I are in the minority in that we actually lock our gates. That's what was making Spencer, it so easy for Spencer to escape for a while, is he kept finding fences unlocked. Lock your shit up, people. Come on. Oh no, this went down the wrong way. Oh no. Are we okay? I ask myself, Terry, are we okay? I don't know if we're okay. We might be okay. We're okay, everyone. I'd previously mentioned that Steven was taking 2 weeks off in June. I tried to do the same, but I did have to record a lot of auditions and go to a couple studios. Well, I mean, I didn't have to. I got to. Work hasn't been overflowing lately, so I'm grateful anytime I get a gig or auditions. Even the really weird one that happened earlier today. Randomly, side note, on one of my trips to the studio, I met this new actress. And she went out of her way to introduce herself to me. Like, I was checking the schedule, and she, like, let out, and it's like, oh, by the way, I won't say her name. And she just let me know it was her first VO session. You could tell she was nervous. I don't know. There's just something, like, I love that she went out of her way to talk to me. I personally suck at that stuff. I think if you know who I am, but we're not in a setting where, like, we're in, like, really supposed to be like engaging, I think I come off very standoffish. And it's not that, it's just, I just tend to clam up in new situations. Which, if you know me at all, is kind of weird to admit because I'm so, wow. But yeah. She just went for it, and I appreciated that. So much so that I felt the need to kind of protect her. Like, after my session, I saw that she was standing in front of the booth she was booked with. And I was like, hey, how was your session? She's like, oh, it hasn't started yet. I'm like, oh, are they busy? She's like, I think they're busy. And I saw that they weren't recording, so I just opened the door for her. I'm like, hey, can she come in here and wait? She's ready. And the engineer was like, yeah, sure. I'm like, all right, break a leg. Bye. So I wouldn't say I'm a hero. Yes, I would. You're welcome. Salute. I literally just saluted and then narrated that I was saluting. Oh boy. So outside of a few things, on vacation, I tried not to wake up to an alarm, which is always weird. Throws off your thing, but you're also like, sleeping in. What a concept. 2 weeks without an alarm. And I also tried to let Steven sleep in. He's got a normal, like, 9 to 5, which I've had here and there over the years. Don't recommend them. I mean, I recommend the stability and health insurance, just security, but do they voice act? They might. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So when I got up, take my pills, my morning pills, let the dog out, feed the dog, make a big pot of coffee. I just let my dude sleep in. And he's like, oh, king size bed to myself. Yes. Heat, not so much. As I've mentioned before, the AC, haha. It's been bad. It's really bad. And we're not even like in the worst of it yet. So Steven and I are probably going to be paying for a new HVAC system in the next week. Need a new roof, need a new fridge, I think, new bathtub. The dog has a very costly little procedure coming up. It's fun. It's fun here. But we did pay off a pretty substantial HELOC. So, being a homeowner is awesome. I recommend it to everybody. Oh, God. Why? It all hits at the same time. Who knows what else is going to hit? I also got new glasses. And it's like, oh, my eye insurance is actually pretty decent. Thank God. That's kind of a win. But they haven't come in yet. I'm not used to waiting this long. But yeah. One random thing I know I mentioned last time was that I was going to IKEA for the first time. I'd never been. And it's just a thing that I wanted to see what the hype was all about. And having gone, hell could take some notes from IKEA. I don't get it. It's not even really like affordable stuff that's good. Like, I grew up pretty poor. I love when things are affordable. But they can't be cheap and affordable. Like, I want them to be like a good deal. I'll pay more for a good thing than pay less for a shit thing. And I just saw like cheap for the sake of cheap on a lot of stuff. I just lost my IKEA fanatics. I'm so sorry. I did see two things that I wanted. And one has been this donut lamp that I saw like circling social media for a while. Like, some people made them like bagels or really like made them look like a donut. I think it's fun, but I finally found it and I felt absolutely no push to buy it. Which I'm like, oh, this might be growth happening here. The other thing that I had no idea was an IKEA thing. It's what I refer to as a whatever shark. It's just this shark that always looked like it's fucking over it. And they had a bunch of different sizes. And I like grabbed one at one point and I'm just like, didn't buy it. Yeah, didn't buy the donut or the shark, which is a weird sentence. And I had purposefully went around lunchtime to get the infamous Swedish meatballs. And Steven and I got to the little cafeteria area and there were two women working the food line. They weren't helping anybody. They were just talking. Steven and I were waiting in the food line for like 10 minutes. Okay, it was probably like 5, but, and I'm from retail and food. I just remember getting yelled at, not acknowledging a customer within like 10 seconds. These women weren't busy. They saw us waiting and then just kept talking. And I literally said out loud, I'm like, fuck this. And Steven and I like, okay, we remembered where we were. I'm like, oh, the burrito place that I love is nearby. Let's just fucking go there. And so I will never know what might have been with the Swedish meatball. And that's just something that I need to be right with my God about. So I would not go back to IKEA. I know. It's going to be okay. The odd thing was, so I was starving by the time we're leaving IKEA. I'm like, it's going to be worth it. I've missed this fucking burrito place. We pull up and they are officially forever closed. And Steven and I sat in the parking lot sure. Yeah, that makes sense. We're starving. We're a little far from home, so we can't just like go home and like eat our weight in like plantain chips. Ugh. So there's a Thai place in the same little area. So like, fuck it. Can't go wrong with Thai. Walked in and the owner immediately walked up like, hey, just so you know, we are still open, but our AC is out. And it was swampy. And I looked at Steven and he's like, it was just so sweaty. He's like, I can't do it. I can't. And so we left. I'm like, oh God, we need food like now. I'm like, there's a 7-Eleven. And Steven's like, I'm not that hungry. No, but we were pretty fucking hungry. So we saw across the way that there were a bunch of little restaurants, drove across the way, and there was a burger place. Just a little hole in the wall burger place. And it might be because I was starving and they had good AC, but that was one of the best fucking burgers I'd ever had in my entire life. And the staff was so nice. So cool me down, feed me, be nice to me, and, we're cool. So fuck IKEA, shop local, eat local, please have AC. That seems to be a running theme. I just want air conditioning, please. Thank you. Oh my God, I don't know if you heard that, but that was my stomach. Oh my God. Fucking xenomorph brewing in here. I don't know. Might be an interesting end of this episode. You might not have even heard it at all, and I'm just like making a big deal out of it. Our anniversary was also during that holiday. We kept it chill. It was our 17th wedding anniversary. We just hung around the house, trying to stay cool, and did these little like brioche breakfast sliders. We're big fans of breakfast food, and also got some cake from Claudia's, which is our favorite bakery in the area. I think they're technically in Hearst. They're amazing. And then we just watched TV. I think we watched Below Deck Med. Sexy, right? Probably do more for our dating anniversary in October, which I think will be 20 years. 20 years! But yeah. And then the day after our anniversary, we took Will to her new vet. Ours retired. And Willow was not up on her shots. She was not a fan of getting those shots. And I'm not a fan of meeting new doctors of any kind. I walked up, I'm like, Terri Doty? They're like, oh, is that the name of your dog? I'm like, oh. They're like, we need the name of the patient. I'm like, oh, well, fuck me. Willow, please. I'm always nervous taking her anywhere. My intrusive thoughts are typically along the lines of, what if this is the day another dog attacks her, or she gets loose and goes after like someone's cat, or it's just a fucking idiot. She's really good at that. But she did great. The vets even thanked us for her not being a Chihuahua. Apparently, they'd been dealing with a lot of Chihuahuas that day, and Willow was a welcome change of pace. The timing of the vacation worked out great for a lot of reasons, but a big one was my friend Kat happened to be in town. She has lived in Hawaii for about 20 years, but we've known each other since we were teenagers. I want to say since I was 16. 15, 16. We met doing a play in Mansfield together, Main Street Theater, which is no longer there. And she was also friends with my friend Emmanuel, who I've known since the 7th grade. So Kat is just one of these people that's effortlessly cool. Like, you feel cooler by association. She was that way when I first met her, and she's still that way. She is a badass. Just cool. I love her so much. And now in Hawaii, she has a shop with her husband, and she only features local products, and the store has become a go-to for pretty much everyone in the area. I am so proud of her. She's accomplished so much. So she'd met Steven a few years back, and they pretty much wouldn't stop talking until, like, Steven's like, I want to go to sleep. The second Kat saw Steven's garden, she was lost to me. She'd been in my house for like 2 seconds. And luckily, my friend Emmanuel was there. He's like, so it's just going to be me and you talking for the rest of the night? I'm like, yep. So when Kat told me that she was in town, I was like, oh my God, Steven's off work. Should we all do something? She's like, fuck. Yeah, let's do something local and outside and fun. And I'm like, oh, outside. Right. She's one of those outside people. Do you think I stay this pale on accident, ma'am? But I thought of the Fort Worth Refuge Nature Center that we've gone to now, with including this time 3 times. We grabbed lunch beforehand, breakfast food, obviously, and then just spent the day walking around and never really cooling off until we loaded up on lemonade at Sonic later. Her and Steven are very like big brother, little sister coded. She's like, hey, Steven, what's this? Hey, Steven, what's this? And he's like, oh, this. I'm like, oh my God, they were so cute together. And we were under a heat advisory, so thank God for that lemonade. We were a little stupid to go. We could have done something else, but I wanted to take her outside. But yeah, when we got back to the house, I tried to overload Kat with books. We're always recommending stuff to one another. After making her try to leave with like 20 books, she's like, okay, pick 2. I'm only taking 2. I flew here. You know that. And so I made her take I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Both great reads. I typically read them like once a year since I've discovered them. Very different reads. Very good, though. And while we were still at the nature center, it was interesting because Kat and I also, I forget how we got started on this, but we spoke about not being fluent in Spanish for a decent amount. And we'd never talked about this before. Like, we went on this giant rant back and forth about how we wished our families had been more serious about teaching us our culture and our language when we were younger. We're both from Mexican families, if you haven't noticed from the way I'm talking about it. But yeah, I never get to speak Spanish, honestly. I miss it. I miss learning it. I always say I'm a beginner. And I understand it more than I speak it, especially when I lived with my grandmother. My grandmother very much did not enjoy speaking English. So it was a weird thing where I would like tell people what she said, and they'll like, oh, well, tell your grandma this. And like, she understands you. She just doesn't want to speak English. I think about getting a tutor again, and trying again, or like, well, Duolingo can suck a fuck because they went all in on AI. But is Babbel any good? Someone help me there. What's a good like online tool? You're an online tool. How dare you? It's just the way I said that. I don't know why. Intrusive thought. I don't know. It's hard when you know you spoke it as a kid and you just lost it. That's the thing about a lot of us from Spanish-speaking households. People love to give you shit for not being fluent, especially the people that could have helped you just by keeping it up in your home. But that's another story entirely. So, Kat is back in Hawaii, and I miss her already. So I should probably start sending her more books and be like, ha-ha, you're not going to get rid of me. No, ma'am. I talked about our wedding anniversary and being 17 years. Another entity or whatever you want to say that's celebrating 17 years is the One Piece podcast. Huge shout out to the One Piece podcast. This podcast and everyone behind it are so special to me. Not only are they great people with stellar content, but they helped us out when we were really getting started with that anime show in 2010. They seriously had no business coming to our aid the way they did. And I will always be grateful to them. 17 years and going strong, it seems like. I love them so much. Always grateful, always grateful. I met Steve Yurko because of our podcasting journeys, and now he's one of my best friends in the entire universe. Like, I'd cut a bitch for him. I'd eat at Arby's for him. So yeah, the One Piece podcast has grown so much. I'm so proud of them. Congratulations, y'all. Here's to 17 more? Maybe? I don't know if that's a good thing to wish on somebody, but they're great. So yeah, let's say like 34 more. Let's go. As of this month, we've been doing Obscure Chatter for 7 years. I've been podcasting since 2010, but we took that break after that anime show, which is TAS Rewind on our feed. 7 years. The show has changed in ways there's no way I could have predicted how much it changed. That it would essentially just become like a talk show, when I initially had this idea of like interviews with movies as a backdrop. And I just challenged myself to become more comfortable on my own in the booth, talking to myself. I do enjoy the sound of my own voice, so that's helpful. I can't really say how many of the older episodes are revisitable, but that's just part of growth. Again, if you're not cringing, you're not growing, damn it. But I promise you, we won't do beeps ever again. I mentioned that anime show. I couldn't have predicted that Obscure Chatter would adopt that anime show, aka TAS Rewind. It's actually a lot easier to keep up with now. Again, if you recall, we just kind of forgot to renew something and the website went away. So here's to 7 more years, 70 more years. Who knows? Stay tuned for more Obscure Chatter. So, thank you for joining me for our June episode, our 7-year anniversary episode. I hope you like what you heard. If you did, please leave Obscure Chatter a review wherever you're listening. If you didn't, you don't have to let anybody know that you hated it. It's fine. Just move on. But if you loved it, review it. The show will always be free. So there is no need whatsoever to pirate it. Support us, support moi by keeping it legal and not feeding any of our content to Skynet. Don't do it. I don't want to see that Terminator movie. I mean, they can get worse, you guys. Don't do that. Remember that you can always submit questions or requests to obscurechatter@gmail.com. We will be back at the end of July. So, until then, read good shit, watch good shit, listen to good shit, don't be a shit, and birderer is gonna happen, you guys. I'm gonna make it happen.